go there yet, and I don't think we need to look all that far back to realize why. It's Chiney Ogwumike Jr. here on ESPN Radio and ESPN News. Mike Golick Jr. and Chiney Ogwumike. But before we get to that, I'm looking up before we get the show started, Chiney, and I am seeing our group on NFL Live. Laura Rutledge, Keyshawn's in today with Dan Orlovsky, and they're all in the studio, and they got like the giant desk going on in there. And I'm looking at this, and I'm wondering if this is the biggest desk in sports right now. And you aptly pointed out to me that there is the one true desk that we all must observe in the world of sports right now.
Yes, the Turner guys.
Woo.
The NBA on TNT, that desk is massive. It goes left to the right, wall to wall, in my Chris Brown voice.
It's got everything. It's got everything you could possibly want in a giant desk. I can only hope this trend keeps going, by the way.
In fairness, like, the guys in the chairs need that. Like, they really do need that.
Oh, listen, they need all that space and then some, like, for their own safety.
Yeah, I feel like if we had a desk, we will soon, but like given this climate, we wouldn't, like, the space would be used for food. Like, we'd have all our snacks in the middle. That would be our desk. I
feel like they're not maximizing the space when it comes to the spread that they could have out there. So a little word to the wise. I know we're young in the game right now, but I feel like we've got something to offer for a lot of people. One of them is maximize your gigantic desk space. Make
Absolutely.
COVID situation work for you.
Absolutely.
Not the other way around.
Very true.
So, Chiney, any panic for you? Because we talk about must-win, just-win on Thursday Night Football for the Cleveland Browns going in up against the Cincinnati Bengals. After a multi-overtime, game-winning thriller by the Miami Heat in Game 1, are we at any point like that for the Boston Celtics right now?
This is a just-win game. And I think by definition, it means, like, we just need you to win, or you need to just win. The Celtics, they ran into a Heat team that is truly a team. And I was watching that first game, and I was like, dang. Like, in this modern age of NBA where there's superstars and there's talent, as great as this team is with their young core and what they're developing, and also with the leadership of Jimmy Butler and the play of Bam Adebayo, who was a candidate for most improved player, are they winning on mental toughness and competitiveness alone? Because did you see the intensity that they had, especially in OT? Just like defensively, it was palpable. And that's in a bubble, a trapped bubble, and we're miles away. So this is a just-win game for the Celtics, because if there's anything we've learned from this whole, bubble basketball, is that never count a team out.
No, and I think that's the biggest takeaway from all of this is just what we saw in the last round. The Toronto Raptors were down 2-0 in that series and did not blink because we don't have these wild swings anymore, Chiney. Like with bubble basketball, there's no worry about home and road splits or any of the things and swings that usually come along with that. You just got to show up with the blank slate every night. And at this point with these two teams, I know we laud the Heat culture, but as Frank Isola pointed out angrily on Twitter, Brad Stevens and the Clippers and the Celtics crew are not doing bad in their own night when it comes to this and that front office with Danny Ainge and everybody else involved.
Absolutely. And I think there have been situations where everyone's being tested, not just the players, but the coaches, their choices of timeouts, their choices of plays, and who's on the floor. And even most importantly, how many minutes you play your stars. That's sort of what we had questions about. But when it comes to the Celtics, I mean, there are a number of people that I feel like can do better, but I think Kemba Walker, it's his play that he himself has pointed out needs to be better as well.
Yeah, and I want to hear from Brad Stevens, the Boston Celtics head coach here right now, talking about that because it's rare, Chiney, in this instance, and I think this is refreshing and a good sign because a team that's self-aware enough to diagnose the way Kemba did is one that I feel like has the best possible chance of rebounding. Because the worst thing you can do in sports is lie to yourself. However you're going about your business, you got to be who you are. And for Kemba to be self-aware enough to not only, understand it, but to bring it up publicly, to hold himself accountable seems like a palpable part of the culture there. Brad Stevens, their head coach, on Kemba's performance in Game 1.
As far as Kemba goes, I don't lose any sleep over Kemba. Nobody cares more than Kemba. Nobody wants to play better. And, we are constantly going to the drawing board to figure out how we can make his life a little bit easier from our own perspectives. So, we'll keep riding him.
Chiney Ogwumike Jr. on ESPN Radio. We're presented by Progressive Insurance. Guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line in about 5 minutes. Boston Globe Celtics reporter Gary Washburn going to join us and give us an insider's view of what's going on with this team. But Chiney, we've talked so much about getting players involved in a game, and I'm curious, what do you need to see from Kemba in the middle of something like this where a really inefficient Game 1, I think 19 points on 19 shots? how do you go about, especially in the combine of a Celtics offense that's got other mouths to feed, getting an important player like that involved and activated and out of this kind of mentality?
I think it's getting easy looks because, you look at the numbers. Kemba Walker shooting 27% from three, the fourth lowest three-point shooting percentage this postseason, while he's also taken 33 more threes. So he's trying to shoot himself out of it. But I think it's more of those pressure scenarios. And we put that pressure on him. What do we call him? Cardiac Kemba. And he has delivered in some forms. Like, the hardest thing to reconcile here is the fact that he had that bounce pass to Tice that made us think that, the series was really over versus the Raptors. He did hit that nice little, step back mid-range jumper for us to think, this game could be locked and loaded, but it's everything else. So getting easier shots. Kemba Walker has struggled so much over the last 3 games, but what makes matters worse is that he's allowed nearly twice as many points as the primary defender over that span. So as much as he scored, he's allowed twice as many points. Clearly the Heat are going to continue to target him, and the only thing that could be better is him picking and choosing his battles better. Get those easy looks and not necessarily feeling like, because I have to be aggressive, the only way is by shooting the ball as much as I can. Maybe finding other ways to get your guys going. Maybe creating those extra passes, shooting when you're open, and just catching your rhythm naturally.
Chiney Ogwumike Jr. reminding you to tune into Bloodlines, a 3-part podcast written and told by ESPN's Wright Thompson that examines the world of thoroughbred horse racing. Download, subscribe, and review Bloodlines, available wherever you get your podcast. I think it's interesting, Chiney, we spend so much time breaking down what happens with the Celtics and how teams take on sort of the personality and persona of the biggest name association. Like, I think even with the Celtics team, Jayson Tatum's getting to a high level, but Brad Stevens for so long was kind of the poster for this team of guys waiting to ascend. And so what do we talk about? All right, going about the details of the X's and O's, breaking down what happens on the court. When Jimmy Butler is the linchpin on the Heat side, we just look and go, they're going to win by sheer force of will because that's the kind of player that this man is. And so rarely do I feel like we cast a discerning eye at that side of the basketball.
Yeah, I agree, because I think when it comes to the Miami Heat, they just sort of try to dominate you. Not even outplay you, but we're just going to dominate you. We're going to be the first one on the floor to the loose ball. We're going to make the tougher shot. It's not the every play. It's the intentional aspects of certain plays that sort of steal the momentum. And just big picture for Boston. Boston, I mean, let's be real here. They have more top-tier talent. If Jaylen Brown plays well, if Jayson Tatum plays well, if Kemba plays better. And then here's the big thing. We're talking about a series. This is game 2. If we're talking about a series, Gordon Hayward has not looked bad. There could be a moment where he comes in, and that could be the energy. If we're talking about, like, in the NBA and the bubble, energy is sort of the deciding factor of who has won and who hasn't, especially you look at the West. Now, if there's an energy boost, that might be that big, even just having him on the court. This guy, when he hits like 20 points per game, which we're not expecting that, their record is like 15-1 or 15-2. So just having him there and even contributing in a small way is something that could be really big in this series as well. So they just have to weather the storm now and also lean on the talent, but play the game simply, because the Miami Heat seems like they've been built for this. Like, this is their time. This is their run. They are literally flexing on everyone, and it's working. Now we're seeing how mentally tough Boston will be in return.
Hey, you know what? It's a great point.